Hello. In today's reading, Jesus looks at the world, sees sheep without a shepherd, and commissions his disciples to go and take the kingdom of heaven to them, to understand the problems they face and to do something about it. And he tells them that if they will, the harvest of souls will be plentiful. For me, that's a daunting task, and maybe it is for you too. There are a couple of reasons I think I ought to try harder though. Firstly, I have a relationship with Jesus and I experience God's love. Secondly, if that's true, it stands to reason that the Lord also loves the people around me and wants them to experience his love. He loves the homeless guy you see outside Tesco. He loves the person driving past you in their Porsche. And he loves everyone whose circumstances lie between these extremes. The Lord wants to give others everything that he gives to me. But when I look at the commission to take the gospel to the world around me, I think I haven't done very well with it. Most Christians I talk to about it feel the same way. Preach the gospel at all times. Use words if necessary. St. Francis of Assisi is reputed to have said. This is encouraging. If I don't have to describe or explain the gospel, suddenly the task doesn't look quite as impossible. The author Flannery O'Connor had similar essential advice for aspiring novelists. Readers aren't going to believe something just because you tell them, she said. In other words, telling readers about a character or a story has limited effect. To really engage them, writers need to show the characters speaking and acting, need to give the reader a vicarious experience of what happens in a scene. Francis of Assisi and Flannery O'Connor are saying the same thing. Show, don't tell. If you're like me and beat yourself up about how poor an evangelist you are, take heart. Your church is probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. If you belong to a church, you contribute to its response to the call to be workers in the harvest. The church this broadcast service comes from isn't the only one, and I'm not claiming that it's better than any other, but St. James and Emmanuel's mission is to be an inclusive church which welcomes, accepts, and serves everyone. You can see that in its logo. This church's goal is to be like the tree in the parable of the mustard seed, a tree that birds come and perch in, a place of sustenance, protection, and peace for all. In relation to either its members or the people living in the surrounding area, the guiding principle of St. James and Emmanuel is to offer a community. Faith, as our team rector Nick Bundock put it recently, is community. St. James and Emmanuel's three-word mission statement is belonging, believing, becoming. People come to belong to this community and start to believe in Jesus, and through that become people who walk with him. In offering the gift of community, we're workers in the harvest. That's the collective response of one church. What about your response as an individual? Some of you work in the caring professions. Some of you work in education. Some in the judicial system. Some volunteer at food banks. Some visit prisons. Some support asylum seekers, and so on. This reflection is way too short to cover all the ways Christians make a difference. Your response as an individual also has to do with who you are to the people you interact with. You're a worker in the harvest when you support a friend who's up against it, when you're compassionate, when you're kind, when you speak the truth into a situation and transform it. If we stop for a moment and think about who we are and what we say and do at home, at church, in the workplace, we'll for sure see some of the ways in which we respond to Christ's call on our lives. Even so, I doubt that I'm the disciple I might be. If so, what stops me? Well, G.K. Chesterton said that when we don't worship God, we worship anything and everything. Worship requires a single-minded focus on the Lord, and what gets in the way of that is paying too much attention to other things. For materialists, it's what they buy. For workaholics, it's their job. For me, largely, it's my distractions that get in the way. My focus on God is displaced by focus on my phone, on news sites, social media, and messaging apps. Each one of them may be fine, but when they combine, they clutter my inner world and prevent me hearing God's voice in more of my day. I might pay attention to God in my morning prayers, but more is possible. The 17th century monk Father Lawrence speaks of practicing the presence. If I practice the presence, tuned into the Lord, through more of the day, I'd become a better disciple. The book of James says, "Purify your hearts, you double-minded." To have the character of someone who can obey Jesus, I need to be single-minded. I need to love the Lord, my God, with all my heart and soul and mind and strength, and love my neighbour as myself. Those two commands precede the call to be workers in the harvest. Worship changes our hearts, and as we're changed, we change the world around us. We become the salt of the earth, preserving it and adding flavour. We become the light of the world, bringing light into dark places. In short, if I worshipped more, if I practiced the presence more, I'd become a better disciple, and my life would be a path between the Good Shepherd and his sheep. Amen.